Hello. So this weekend I started with the original, we'll call it original, the toggle vise that you guys saw on Thursday. And the mission was to remove all the steel bearings and steel pins and even steel toggles from this. What I ended up with is entirely different because I was very concerned that as this thing toggles back and forth, if there's any play in the bushings after who knows how many cycles, um, if there's any play in the bushings, when this thing cams over center, the vise actually starts to open again. So if I don't grab a board and stop this air cylinder from extending, then we're just not going to grab the board at all. And the mission wasn't so much to make a cheaper vise as it was to make one that would last longer. So I really wanted a steel bushing, a steel pin, some rollers, something that I could count on to move for millions of cycles without wearing out. Once we went to bushings, I got a little bit nervous about that wearing out. So instead, I've ended up with something entirely different. Once you go to a bronze bushing, now I felt like I needed something that could handle, wear. And so what I've done is I've sort of planned on a steel pin or an aluminum pin that would be hard coated with a bronze bushing floating over that. I'll have the bronze bushing float inside of also an aluminum hard coated part. And so that I think will take a long, long time before it wears to the point that it's not functional anymore. As it starts to wear out, all that's going to happen as the cylinder clamps is that the cylinder is going to have to clamp further. What I've done with this design is I've gotten rid of all the steel altogether. So we're talking aluminum pins, bronze bushings, aluminum parts, and even up here where the original one sort of had some bolts in there to hold the jaw down, this jaw clips in. So my plan there is to just make the jaw where as these parts are held in tightly, that tab holds this jaw in so that there's no steel. Now I did leave the set screw holes that hold the 2x4 in the jaw, so there technically would be some steel set screws there, but we already had 7 or 8 of those on the original design. Let's see if I explode this a little bit more here for you. You can see what I'm thinking here with the steel pin, and I'll have a bushing there. Really, the purpose of that bushing was just to get me an O-ring groove. So I still maintain that there's sawdust everywhere. We want something that's going to last a long time and it's sealed up. So every single mating surface has an O-ring groove in there to keep sawdust out, and all the pins. I've used the same bushing diameters and end caps and everything for obvious reasons down here at this pivot point, and they all have O-ring grooves in them as well to try to keep grease in and dirt out. Hopefully you can see I've got a few parts here modeled that are clear. I did the 2x4 that was clear so you could see where I was grabbing, and to give you some reference, I put a 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch lip on the bottom of the 2x4. Right, so that's what this little protrusion is a 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch. When this thing moves, I'm not quite clearing that 1/2 inch there at the very bottom, but that's nearly as much motion as I was getting out of the toggle assembly that you had sort of already approved anyway. The other thing I wanted to point out, the cylinder does pivot, and because it pivots, I had to put a notch in the bottom. I used literally the jaw from your model. This is the jaw that's on all the vices that you're using right now. But in order for it to work, I needed to have a notch under the bottom for the cylinder to have room for it. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to be concerned about the fact that I've got a hole through the top of the vise. Now it doesn't extend up past that. If you've got stuff flying around, it doesn't really matter. But it is there. There is a hole there. So you can see it never comes out any further than that. I had to use all the space available to get that size cylinder in there. Once we got away from the force amplification of the toggle mechanism, I really needed a bigger cylinder. So now this is a 2.5 inch bore cylinder in there. And I've even got the barrel clear so you can see the piston moving. With this design here, I feel like we can do the airports from the back here. We can plumb them right into the side of this part, and then take them out the side just like your original vise had, so that they literally, it's plug and play. This bolt pattern is exactly the same as the original bolt pattern. All of this sizes fits in the original footprint. Back here you can see the two laid over each other. I'm not taking up any more room than the original one. I mean, it's negligible down here. This one looks a little bit smaller because the jaw is actually closed in this position, but you can see that the jaw is closed past the point of the 2x4. So it's sort of apples and oranges. I imported mine with the jaw open, but you get the idea that we're really not taking up any more space than we did before. So let me know what you guys think. If the open top is a problem, I think I have room in there to close that off, especially if I incorporate maybe a top into these parts hold the trunnion pin. I feel like I could, if I had to close that off from sawdust, I would probably put some sort of a top on there that had the trunnion holders with it, enclosed with it. Same principle on these toggle holders. I want a free-floating bushing that floats on the ID and the OD to sort of maximize the amount of available space as things are pivoting, available surface area. And obviously I'll send you the file as well. Let me know if this is something we can move forward with. Thank you.